Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world, coming up. And the highly popular French singer and actor Patrick Bruel is under investigation in France and Belgium over allegations of rape and sexual violence. Also, it's nearly a decade after the Harvey Weinstein allegations sparked the global Me Too movement, but Australian actor Cate Blanchett says the movement is dead. And a UN Women report finds women in public life are increasingly facing sophisticated online violence. I'll be talking shortly to its lead author, Professor Julie Posetti. But first, and the exceedingly popular French singer and actor Patrick Bruel is now the subject of a number of investigations in France and Belgium for alleged acts of rape and sexual violence between 1991 and 2019. The singer continues to deny the allegations, stating that he has never sought to coerce anybody into a sexual act. But organisers have cancelled a series of concerts scheduled to be held in Quebec, Canada, as Solange Mojan reports.
For decades, he's been a French superstar. But now the singer and actor Patrick Bruel is being investigated in France in 4 separate cases for rape and 1 for sexual assault in Belgium. And more women are coming forward with their testimonies of sexual violence inflicted, they say, by the 67-year-old.
Les femmes à parler.
The French government spokeswoman even addressed the scandal, encouraging others to speak out as well, regardless of whether it was decades ago. As investigations continue, France's Bruel Gate raises the ever-difficult question of whether the singer should uphold his tour or not. On social media, Patrick Bruel has vowed to continue the tour, and he says he's innocent of all charges. But for Paris's mayor, it would be best to take a break.
To me, it's clear that he should cancel the concerts himself. He should pause his career until justice decides.
Bruel is slated to sing here at the Cirque d'Hiver in mid-June. But for many Parisians, it isn't a good idea, even if he is innocent until proven guilty.
Yes, presumption of innocence, but at the same time, it's not necessarily good to be under the spotlight in cases like this, where there are potentially victims who are suffering.
Put yourself in the shoes of the victims. It gives the impression that no one cares.
In Canada, dates in the French-speaking Quebec were pulled by the concert's organizer, stating the difficulty of promoting the events due to the current context.
And staying in the world of culture, and it's been nearly a decade since the Harvey Weinstein allegations broke in October 2017, unleashing the global Me Too movement. But now Australian actor Cate Blanchett says the movement is effectively dead. Cami Knight takes a look at this year's Cannes Film Festival, the accusations it's faced and conversations taking place on sexual violence within the film industry.
At the height of the Me Too movement in 2018, Cate Blanchett, then jury president, led 82 women up the steps of the Cannes Film Festival.
We are directors, actresses.
The number was deliberate. 82 female directors had ever competed at the festival against 1,866 men. 8 years on, Blanchett says the Me Too movement was very quickly killed.
And I'm still on film sets, and I do the head count every day, and it is still, there's 10 women and there's 75 men every morning.
The numbers at this year's festival offer little comfort. Of the 22 films in official competition, only 5 are directed by women. Cannes has even faced accusations of pinkwashing, with this edition's poster featuring Thelma and Louise, the 1991 feminist road film. A choice the head of the festival has been quick to defend.
There is no way we would choose a film by Gina Davis, Susan Sarandon or Ridley Scott as a poster to claim, on the cheap, a feminist image. We are not building a feminist image cheaply or at great expense. We're not building a feminist image at all.
Others are more optimistic. Speaking at the festival, Julianne Moore said she believed gender representation on film sets had improved over the past decade. And films and discussions around gender-based violence suggest the conversation is far from over. As Gan was in full swing, a bill inspired by the Me Too movement in the cultural sector was formally tabled in the French National Assembly. It bans nudity at castings, protects whistleblowers and strengthens safeguards for child actors, measures the world of French cinema has been pushing for after a parliamentary report found sexual violence in the sector to be systemic.
Now, a UN Women's report has found women in public life are facing growing and increasingly sophisticated forms of online violence. This includes female politicians, community leaders, journalists and activists. The report warning that AI-assisted virtual rape is now at the fingertips of perpetrators. Joining me now from London is the report's lead author, Professor Julie Posetti, who's also the chair of the Centre for Journalism and Democracy at City St George's University of London. Thank you so much for your time, Julie. We've got a situation where just recently, even the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, found herself the victim of AI-generated deepfake images, including one depicting her in lingerie, a reminder that no woman is safe from this technology.
Indeed, and our work focuses on women in public life, and what we know is that there is a concerted effort to render women invisible. The more power they have to speak truth to male power, the more likely they are to be subjected to gender-based online violence and increasingly AI-assisted online violence. And so prime ministers, foreign secretaries, women human rights lawyers, women journalists, nobody is immune. And in fact, one of the worst cases that I reviewed when we were preparing this report for UN Women involved a UK MP who was campaigning for the banning of so-called nudification apps, the apps that allow perpetrators to strip naked photos of women that they have obtained online or through hacking, and to pose them in a variety of ways, and in fact to subject them to synthetic forms of sexual assault. And in the case of this MP, the situation was that retribution for her campaign to ban nudification apps included a deepfake video of her being portrayed as being chloroformed in preparation for rape.
What impact is this having on women whose jobs have a public profile, not to mention those who might be considering a career in public life?
Look, it has a chilling effect. I mean, this study follows 5 years to the day almost, a big study called The Chilling, in fact, that I led for UNESCO. This UN Women's study broadens the groups we're focused on from just women journalists to include other women in public life. And it's important to note that because we're able to look at rates of incidents, different kinds of manifestations and different impacts, particularly for women journalists, and the ways in which those experiences have changed over the past 5 years. And we know that in the context of both rising authoritarianism and in an era of generative AI, when abuse tools are at the fingertips of any user, it's so very easy, it's so very cheap, it's so very quick to produce material designed to demean and humiliate and expose the target to increased risk. And the impacts are also escalating. So, for example, we found that around a quarter of the women we surveyed, and we surveyed women in 119 countries in 5 languages, over a quarter of them had experienced a diagnosis of depression or anxiety directly linked to their experience of online violence. So the mental health impacts are very significant. Over a tenth had also been diagnosed with PTSD directly linked to gender-based online violence. And another aspect that is deeply concerning is, as a result of the failure of the big tech companies, as a result of the ease with which perpetrators are able to act with impunity, we're seeing self-censorship escalating as a response. So 45% of women journalists who responded to our survey said that they self-censor on social media as a way of trying to protect themselves because the management of the risk is being outsourced to women, and the goal of rendering them less visible, less audible, is unfortunately being achieved.
Now, the US has begun enforcing a law requiring tech platforms to remove sexual deepfakes and other non-consensual intimate images. But critics say the new law creates a shoot first and question never dynamic. Would you agree with that?
I agree that it doesn't address the root cause of the problem. It's all very well to require tech companies to pull down offensive, dangerous material that is created without consent and to prevent them from publishing and distributing such content. But the problem at the root is one that involves big tech companies and other creators acting with impunity because they are not required to ensure that these technologies are safe before they're released. So I would argue that what we actually require, in addition to takedown protocols, is safety by design, human rights by design principles being enshrined in law. Why are these companies able to produce and release technologies that inflict harm? We wouldn't allow it with a kitchen appliance. We certainly wouldn't allow it with a motor vehicle, and we wouldn't allow it with medications. Why are we allowing it with the kind of technology that can see women virtually raped, whose lives are being destroyed, whose families are suffering as a consequence?
So in your opinion, I mean, what would be the best way of legislating against a technology that is developing so rapidly? Because the big problem with parliaments and governments across the world is they're constantly playing catch-up.
They are constantly playing catch-up, but exactly the same arguments were used with regard to seatbelts in cars. The same arguments were used with regard to the release of, faster vehicles. So I think we need to take lessons from the history of product development. The same arguments were used by those companies. Don't slow us down. You'll hurt innovation. We need to put it out there, and then we will respond as required to ensure that these risks don't escalate. But when you see the harm inflicted by these technologies leading to physical violence, leading to real life consequences that are extremely devastating, it is not good enough to say after the fact we will prevent the publication of or the seamless distribution of what has been produced, which we saw with Grok, right? So it is not good enough to simply say we'll take it down. We need to stop this at the source of production, and that demands rules against the creation of technologies that allow for this harm to be produced.
Professor Julie Posetti, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's it for this edition. So until our next show, bye for now.